Hello, everybody. It's January 27th. It is a Wednesday. It is the middle of the week. I have dialysis this morning. It's almost midnight, so I have to get up at 6 to take a shuttle to get my dialysis treatment. Now, my whole goal since I got out of the hospital, now nearly a month ago, is to change my life, change my habits that direct my actions in my life. So I've made changes to my diet, changes to my practice, changes to my living, just how I'm arranging my household and living day to day. Now, living day to day is the key. Finding ways, habits that you can maintain over time. Because any habit that you can't maintain over time is not a good habit. You need habits that you can build on. And you need to build on actions that can be improved and upon. So February, which is the new month coming up here, there's going to be a lot of changes. But the changes are just adjustments that I'm having to make to set a course, to get down my life moving closer in the direction I would want to go. So a lot of what I went through in the hospital is behind me. In a sense, I don't want the things that I dealt with for 6 months to become part of my future. I want to look forward to, like the Christopher Cross song says, ride like the wind. I want to move in an unobstructed manner. I don't want to allow anything to obstruct my path, my course of action. So, the only way to do that is to assume complete and full responsibility for your life and your own good or welfare. Now, while I was in the hospital, I'll just review this with you. There are 3 main events I experienced. They were, I call it cathartic events that were mind-changing. And what starts in the mind usually is what translates in your life. Things that start in your mind are the same things that later apply in your life. So the first was, I didn't know if I'd ever walk again. And I was very sick. And the longer I stayed in the hospital, the worse my condition became. Much worse. I walked in and was not able to walk at all after a time, being bedridden and confined to a bed, and not really could do much, if anything, on my own. It was a prison for me. And so I walked in a free man, but I didn't really have power of my decision. as I was in the system, I found myself part of a agenda that I did not really agree to. So it wasn't until my second setback, I call it, that I started to advocate for myself, and that began with just thinking for myself. I just didn't know how to think about what had happened and how I felt about it, and having so much time to think. Um, it started to become clear to me a little at a time that my health depended more on my advocacy for advocating for myself than it does on my original prognosis. Your prognosis are things you can't control because those are evaluations made by other people, and they're not other people who don't hold themselves accountable for their prognosis. They just simply make these prognoses, and then you're simply expected to act on them, follow through on someone else's evaluation and opinions of you. So at first I was told I had a heart attack in the hospital, and I couldn't understand that because I had no discomfort, did not experience anything of the such sort. But later, that changed and that was adjusted, and many things that was originally assumed proved not to be true, or that those conditions indeed improved. And so I found myself having to rethink and recondition my thinking to be able to advocate or to think more independently for myself. Then finally, the third stage, I call it, and while I was in the hospital, I started to, as I started to advocate more and more for myself, I found that I had to come to my own understanding or realization of my situation, that it wasn't predetermined really at all. It's something that's determined largely by your own attitude, your attitude that is what shapes how you perceive the world, and your perception kind of colors your view. And so I found that I have to continually adjust to change my habits. I have to adjust my attitudes. Attitudes have to continually change. So I call that just being progressive with your attitude. You have to we live from faith to faith, the Bible says. So it's not just one time you have faith and everything is resolved. It's you live from faith to faith, meaning that as time goes by, you have to make further adjustments and further changes to continue in your walk and your path in life. Now, through this process, I guess you become consecrated, means set apart in ways that you can't really imagine, because you see yourself now as an individual, which means you don't really compare yourself with other people. You don't compare your self at all with other people, because you can only be responsible for yourself and you can only set an example for others. So I started my teaching practice when I moved back here. Now I'm kind of building that up again, doing things in a new and ways that I think are more supportive of good practice, and right habits, which is key to learning and ultimately to success in life, health, and wealth. Okay, so this is just a short update. It's the end of the month, kind of review. I'm looking forward to the next, you could say, 6 months, and plan things from there. Bye-bye.